Hey everyone, Martin here at Orange Box Photography and welcome to the channel. So today I wanted to do a follow-on video. Last week I did a video on the exposure triangle and touched on the basics of ISO, aperture and shutter speed and how they kind of link together with each other to help you achieve a balanced exposure, and also how they can be used to be very creative when creating images. If you haven't seen that video yet or that interests you, I'll pop a link up here. That'll take you back to that video and have a look through that. It's definitely a good starting point. Today's video, however, is going to be based on the mode dial on your camera. As a new DSLR owner or somebody who's only had your DSLR a little while, maybe you're wanting to learn a little bit more about what the other features of your camera are, this is definitely going to be a good video for you. I'm going to do it in 3 segments, so today's video is going to be on the aperture mode or the A mode on your camera. If you're a Canon shooter, then that's going to be AV, Aperture Value, but they do the same thing. Now the auto mode on our camera is great when you're just starting out with your DSLR. Your camera pretty much works out what aperture you should be using and what the shutter speed should be for the given light that you've got. And really all you're left with is composition, although composition is one of the most important things when taking an image, because without composition your image just won't stand out. But the problem is that letting your camera choose all the other settings means creatively you're limiting yourself, and really you want to progress out of that auto mode and move into maybe the semi-automatic modes that your camera offers, which is a good halfway house between full auto and then full manual. And I know that sounds scary and we will cover that in future videos, but for now we're just going to deal with the semi-automatic modes and specifically the Aperture Priority Mode today. Now, to put your camera into Aperture Priority Mode, grab your camera, grab the dial and just turn that till it's on the A, or if you're a Canon shooter that's going to be AV, and that will put you into the Aperture Priority Mode or the Aperture Value mode. Now what this mode does is it is a semi-automatic mode, but what it does is it allows you to choose what aperture you're going to shoot at. Now what aperture you shoot at obviously is going to depend on what you're shooting and what you're trying to achieve in your picture. Now for example, if you want to shoot a portrait and you want to really isolate your subject so they really stand out, then really what you want is going to be selecting, say, a very small aperture, say f2.8, f4, things like that. And what that will do is that if you focus on the person, they'll be nicely and sharply focused, but everything in front of them and behind them will be blown out. And when I say blown out, what I mean is it's all fuzzy and it makes that person stand out a lot more. Obviously, if you're trying to shoot landscapes, for example, though, you'll want to select a very large f number, say f22 for example, and what that will do for you is it'll give you a very deep depth of field, which means that everything from front to back is going to be in sharp focus, or as much in sharp focus as possible, which is really useful when you're doing landscapes because you want to show everything. Obviously there are things in between, if you want to do, say, an environmental portrait, which is a picture of someone in their surroundings, then obviously you would change that. But really you choose how that image is going to look, and then the camera will just automatically work out what the shutter speed should be for that to give you a balanced exposure, and that's obviously going to be based on the available light. So if I quickly grab the camera here a sec, and using the front finger dial here, what you'll see, and I'll pop a little graphic up here as well so you can actually see this happening, is that as we slowly change the aperture itself, what you'll take note of is that the actual shutter speed is changing to compensate with that, and that's changing basically to give you a balanced exposure so that your exposure is still spot on. And this is why it's still a semi-automatic mode, because really all you're doing is choosing the aperture you're going to be shooting at, and then the camera will choose the appropriate shutter speed to give you a balanced exposure. Now this will change obviously depending on the aperture you're at, so if you're at f22, the camera is going to be giving you a very slow shutter speed because it needs more time to let light in to give you a proper balanced exposure. Now if however at that point you actually need a faster shutter speed, what you can do is increase your ISO. By increasing your ISO, what you're effectively doing is making the camera's image sensor more sensitive to the light that's coming in. Now what that will do is allow you to increase your shutter speed, or your camera will actually increase the shutter speed automatically when you do this to give you a fast shutter speed. So if you're shooting at a large f number, f11, but you actually haven't got enough shutter speed and you're getting motion blur, that kind of thing, then increase your ISO, but just be careful you don't increase that too much, because if you push that too much, you know, you'll get to a point where you'll start introducing noise and grain and artifacts into your images. So use ISO in moderation. Obviously, where you can, try keep it as low as you physically can. That's pretty much the basics of using the Aperture Priority Mode. I'll leave it there for now. If you guys have any questions at all, you can drop me an email at orangebox321@gmail.com, or you can post your comments below, ask any questions you like. And that's it for now, guys. You guys take care. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.